Welcome to the 10th anniversary edition of the KissFAQ podcast. The 10 years and hundreds of episodes wouldn't have been possible without the participants, be they regulars or occasional, our guests, and you, the viewer and listener. We thank you for your support over these past 10 years. Let's look back at some of the primary participants. Daniel, appearing from the very first episode. Nigel, also appearing on the very first episode. Alex, appearing on the first episode. And me, Julian, also on the very first episode.
Do you keen on music? Yeah!
Elaine, appearing on the second episode. Jay, appearing on the second episode. Sean, appearing on the second episode also. Here's Lonnie, third episode debut. Ken, first appearing on the sixth episode. Andrew, debuting on episode number 8. The Van Hammer himself, Chris, appearing on episode 13. The Almighty, Mark, first appearing on episode 21. Joe, first appearing on episode 56. Andy, Wicked Awesome, first appearing on episode 88. Michael, also first appearing on episode 88. And also Joel, Mitch, Jared, James, Scott.
All right, welcome to the 10th anniversary show of the KissFAQ podcast. That's a little bit of an alternate intro this week that uses my god-awful original intro. Mark's first attempt at an intro. Remember, I told you, can you do less drums on that, please? Well, that's the version with lots of drums in it. So there's been a lot of people on this show over the years. Obviously, we've got our core, kind of team now. But, back in the early days, we had so many different folks coming through. I tried to feature the vast majority of people who did more than a few or more than a couple of episodes. So, we don't look like that anymore either. So those were our first episode shots. Or, if our cameras looked like crap that day, that's how they went into that intro. So, obviously today we've got the full team here. And Daniel, good to see you. Thanks for being here, and thank you for being a part of this show for 10 years. Marcus Almighty, Mark, thank you for being here and for being a part of this show for 10 years. Lonnie, sorry about the Bengals, but thanks for being here anyway.
It's a life I've chosen.
I can't resist that on a weekly basis. And of course, Ken, who I think looks the best out of any of us from 10 years ago to today.
No change.
How's that?
Looks the same.
Yeah, so as we get into today's show, just a shout out to Paul Stanley for getting out there with the firefighters in Southern California. And it was great to see him out there just, giving them a little bit of his time this week as they continue to battle the wildfires, in California, which are slowly getting under control, thankfully. But there's a lot of people still in the Los Angeles area on tenterhooks about possible evacuations, all down to the wind. So we're still thinking about you. NAMM is on next week, no matter what, in Anaheim. Mm-hmm. So life does continue, and that's why we're going to be celebrating this show today. Let's start off with a message from one of the people who was also on that very first episode, I believe. And
Alex.
Yeah, let's go to Bag Boy, Alex. And thank you, Alex, for sending in a message.
Hey, KissFAQ podcast. Congratulations on 10 years of doing this wonderful podcast. It's crazy to think it has been 10 years. I remember just sitting in a pizza shop in Idaho as I was beginning my undergrad and doing like a test session with Julian on Skype. And then being a part of so many episodes in the early years, that first episode with Daniel and Nigel. I was just with Nigel a few weeks ago in Sarasota, Florida at Kiss Camp So Goodbye, which was, of course, a fantastic event to go to. Some of the best things about the KissFAQ podcast, if I could just throw in, have been the friendships that I have made with Ken, and of course being able to discuss various bands besides Kiss, such as Chicago and the Cars. Mark with Project Gemini and the wonderful music he makes all the way up north in Canada. With Lonnie and Guns N' Roses, Daniel, and of course the 90s non-makeup era Kiss, and the wonderful books that Julian Gill has published, which has allowed me to gain more information about Kiss than probably any of us should even maybe have, but we enjoy, of course, reading those wonderful books, the solo albums, the Gap book, Odyssey, Mask Hysteria, Danger Zone, wonderful books. And, of course, a big shout out to Tim with the Elder Book too. But anyways, fellas, congratulations again on 10 years of doing this wonderful podcast. It's been a joy to listen to the episodes in my car to and from work. Or even just recently when I was driving across country to begin a master's program, and to have episodes with you guys playing in the car really made it feel like I had friends with me on my trip, and made the long 12, 13 hour days of driving go by just a little bit quicker. So thank you so much. Thank you for always being there, and the fun topics you guys would discuss each and every week on this wonderful podcast. Again, congratulations on 10 years.
Wow, what awesome. a great message.
Nice.
We miss Alex, and I think it was kind of fun to follow how he evolved during the episodes, because in the beginning he was trying to become a teacher, and by the end he became a teacher and starting, because I'm a teacher myself, so it was fun following his development. Yeah, exactly. And I have to give a big thanks to him, because he sent me one of my favorite concerts in mint condition a few years back, the Japan 95 concert. That was awesome. So I have to tip my hat to Alex for that one.
Yeah, Alex is a very cool guy. We're going to do the scorecard shortly, but I want to give all of you guys an opportunity to say hello to everyone and give them your intro for our 10th anniversary. And you're going to be completely off the cuffing it, just like I do every week with everything I say. So Daniel, talk to the people and welcome them to today's 10th anniversary show and what's important about it to you.
Well, why'd you start with me? English is my second language. Well, I need some time to think. Well, I just think it's a great opportunity to talk with the listeners and show them that we care about them, and that we've seen the comments through the years, and some of you have been with us for years, and it's so fun that we've got a lot of messages and videos from you guys that we'll see throughout this episode. And I think we're still developing, we're still improving, and we're always finding new topics to discuss. And as Alex said, it feels like you're my friends when I'm driving to work, listening to the podcast. I feel that our listeners are our friends as well, and a lot of you have reached out through the years on Facebook, for example, and we've kept in contact, and I've received so much from this, being a part of this podcast. I never thought it could end up like this when I sent that message to Julian back in 2015 and asked him if he wanted to start a podcast, because I didn't know where to go, but I knew that KissFAQ was a big thing, the message board, and I was hoping that I could find a few guys that wanted to speak. And so typical of Julian, he said, no problem, let's do it. And next week we had our first episode. So my hat goes off to Julian for being such a gamer, such a pro, such a he's never seen a problem. He's always welcomed the ideas I've given to him, and it's been a hell of a run.
Thanks, Daniel. Lonnie, how about you?
You know, it has been a lot of fun these last 10 years doing this with you guys. You know, I had auditioned for Three Sides of the Coin when Mitch LaFon left, and and obviously didn't get it. They chose Mark, which Mark's great, but I was super bummed that I didn't get it. And being a regular on the FAQ, I had saw that Julian had put this together and was doing this, and I wanted, tossed it around in my head. But do I want to do this? And the answer was quickly, yeah, I wanted to do it because I had thought about starting my own podcast. I was so disappointed that I didn't get the Three Sides thing. So I jumped on. By the third episode, I jumped on and been pretty regular ever since. And sometimes work and life gets in the way, but I try to make it a priority to be here and chat with you guys every week because it has become over the last 10 years just getting together with my friends and just talking about our favorite band. And there's some great times that have gone into it and some really memorable times too. Like Mark and Julian and I got to meet each other in Nashville the one year at Rockin' Pod, and Julian and I met, hooked up in Atlanta for the Vinny thing, and got to meet Julian again when I drove up the coast one year with my wife, and we, stopped in San Francisco and had lunch with Julian.
Didn't we go to Hard Rock?
We did, which was great just to see you guys face to face. Unfortunately, I've never had the opportunity to meet Daniel or Ken face to face, but hopefully that changes one day. And, I think about those shows we did like during COVID. Those shows really stand out to me too. That in a time where we couldn't see people and you couldn't interact with people face to face. I had this once a week on a Thursday or a Saturday where I could still sit down and talk with you guys. I don't think we were doing a StreamYard at that point where people could interact with us live, but we could at least sit down and talk with each other. And then I would look forward just to the YouTube comments, just to have some kind of interaction, with people during that time. So, we've had some great experiences over the 10 years, and I really cherish these last 10 years. Yes. And
if you're wondering why you didn't get the gig with Three Sides, I mean, just look at your background versus Mark's. Mark has a Kiss basement. I mean, and you've got the Bengals.
Where are the Star Wars stuff? Don't you have any Star Wars stuff down there?
Not in here, no.
Oh, Lord. That's the other room.
Right.
All right, Mark, what about you?
Well, I mean, I echo a lot of the things that you guys have said already. I mean, the amount of people that I've met through this podcast and that have become good friends. I mean, obviously, David Donnelly, who's been on here quite a few times and has spoken on here in the chat a lot of times, and I met him through here. Actually, it was interesting because I believe that Julian did an interview with him about his single that had come out at the time, and I remember getting a message from Julian saying, here's a contact that you might want to talk to, this guy named David Donnelly. I think you guys might have a lot in common. And we chatted one time, and it was like a 3-hour chat we had one time on Skype. We were just chatting about music for the whole time. We became great friends, and he's become a very important friend in my life, and he's been involved in a lot of my music now. So it's been fantastic to meet him through here. I mean, obviously you guys, Daniel and I have done so many things as well, whether it's these Kiss riffs, which we had to do another one too. It's been my fault. I'll be crystal clear on that. It's not Daniel. I've been the one who's been holding it up. I've had a few things that I've had to take care of here. It's been kind of getting into time here that I could have used to do it, but we will do another riffs episode very soon. I look forward to doing them. They're always fun. Also, Lonnie and I mean, I remember when we first started chatting together, we had this little tension at first, me and him together, it seemed, but now it has turned into a great friendship and kind of the good kind of prodding that you can have between good friends. And I'm very glad to have Lonnie in my life, and always hope and wish the best for him in his life. And he's a marathoner and stuff like that. So I think it's fantastic that he keeps up his his physical health that way and stuff like that. It's fantastic. It's a great inspiration. Honestly, his kind of marathoning has made me take my walking very seriously, because I have to do that because of my arthritis, right, that I have in my knee and stuff like that, right? So I take great inspiration from him. And Ken, of course, has been one of these guys that you can always rely on and depend on if anything ever happens or I need to talk to somebody about something. Ken's always there on the doorstep, ready to answer the call. And he's been a great guy and a great friend. So this has been one of these podcasts that has, involved my life in so many ways. And what can I say about Julian? I mean, he's been a great friend as well. He's helped me numerous times, more times than I can actually say probably, or remember even how many times he's helped me with things and, helped me out, whether it's my band stuff or just with personal stuff or, sending me, videos and stuff like that. Just fantastic guy, very generous with his time as well. And I know how much his time is important to him and valuable. He has so much stuff that he has on the go that people probably don't even realize. That's a miracle. Sometimes we even have podcasts with him on it. So thank you to Julian for that. And of course, the people who are watching, of course, I mean, I've always had great reactions with people on here, whether, it's they're cracks at me or just positive comments in general. It's always been fun having the people on here to react with. And, I look forward to every week coming on here and talking about Kiss and talking about, the music that involves us so much. And also, we've also talked about other music as well on here. We've had moments where we talked about other bands. And I know that somebody on here just posted here, Rome Loves Dan put here, Mark, thank you for exposing me to some other music. And that's one of the great things I think that's important about this podcast as well. Not only do we love Kiss, but there are many bands around Kiss that we listen to as well. And some of these bands have inspired Kiss, or some of these bands have been inspired by Kiss. So there's always some sort of connection as well on here. So it's great to have these sort of situations happening. And whereas Drago, for example, is another fantastic person that I've met through here, and he's been directly involved with my stuff now too. I mean, he's been helping me with my graphic layouts and my albums for the last God knows how many albums he's been involved with. And by the way, Drago, there's another email for you waiting.
Always the Drago email.
I always have to give him that little
emails.
But
Calling him out. What the hell?
No, it's not calling him out. It's just he probably hasn't had a chance to.
I must break you, Drago.
But yeah, he's been a great friend and helped me out a lot of times as well. I mean, I'll never forget the time when he messaged me once and said, he goes, "Do you mind if I put a Project Gemini little advert in one of the magazines I do?" I said, "Sure, go ahead." And he does these kind of magazines for a soccer team that he's involved with over in Wales. And he showed me this picture, this huge promo program that they give out, and right near the back is a full page Project Gemini thing there. I couldn't believe it that he did that. It was fantastic. So thank you again, Drago, for all your help there. And his name is Jason actually, but thank you for all your help. And I'm very grateful for everything that has happened since I've been here, and the friends that I made is the most important thing overall.
Real fast, it's just heartbreaking. It's just heartbreaking following Lonnie on Runkeeper and seeing his times when he runs. He's like a minute faster than me per kilometer. But if you know what a kilometer is. You got that whacked out system on there, so you don't know. Kilometer, yeah.
I'm resorted to the gym today because there's snow on the ground.
You're still fast, Lonnie. I'm impressed.
Run in the snow.
No, I can't. I'll fall and break a hip.
All right, where's Drago? So scheduling. You can ask these guys. My response to Liverpool wrapping up their game right before we kick this off. So timing is everything. I want to give a shout out before I go to you, Ken, and you've got a couple of comments from the audience that you're going to read from previous episodes. As part of yours. Just thank you, AB, for being here. Ronnie Parker, Titania Bell, Sylvie, Bill Phelps, Adam NC, Crispiness, David Donnelly,
regulars,
Rex Metzer, Bjork, thank you. The Let Me Know podcast guys. Burnt, yes, I take your sartorial advice, hence the no cap today. G Chubb, Critical Kiss, John Janik, I'm running out of steam. Where's Drago? Obviously, Rome Loves Dan. Viper. I'm not going to read the 9Z43. Well, I just did. Alexander, of course. Peter P. Burnt on his own. Super Zapper. Stanley the Parrot. Kai. again, love seeing names that I've known for a long, long time. I think that's it. Gets us caught up. So, Ken, your turn.
My turn. Well, let me get my book. There's the book. I put my hand on it. I promise to execute the presidency of. Oh, and that's not it. Okay. All right. Yeah. I remember back long time ago. 10 years. I guess it's 10 years ago. I used to listen or check out the KissFAQ board, and then the podcast started. And I was thinking, I'm watching the podcast, the first episodes, and I'm thinking, I have some comments on this. I wish I could be there and talk about it, but because, I didn't have anybody to talk to Kiss about Kiss. So one day I did send a message to Julian, and let's say I pay him to let me on the show. No, not really. But that's the only reason I'm here.
You're not supposed to tell people that, Ken.
And it wasn't enough money.
Bribe him.
Anyway, and I said, yeah, I'd like to, if I can, get on one of your shows. And I thought it would be fun talking to, fans that are like myself. And that's what it's all about. And because, even this community, we're all brothers and sisters in this community. We all love Kiss. We all love different things about Kiss, and we all don't like certain things about Kiss. But they're all different, and they're all, the comments, what you like, what you don't like, it's fine. Everyone has their own tastes and things. So that's always been, a cool thing, and there's no right or wrong about it. Though sometimes I may say you're wrong on here. it's to our co-host here, but it's been great with these guys. At least our crew that we have now. I mean, and the past crew people that we've had on here have all been great and fun to talk to. Julian, who keeps this thing going, which I'm glad keeps going. I was always worried that he's going to shut it down one day, and I'm thinking, well, if he shuts it down, I'm going to try to keep something going. I'd want to keep going because right now I'm not. I enjoy it too much. It's amazing that we were able to either we go over the same material over and over again, but we have different points of view as we age and that sort of thing. But I never aged, I guess, for some reason. Anyway, I'm in one of those Star Trek chambers or something. Yeah, get me. But so yeah, it's great talking to all these guys, Julian and Daniel, Mark, Lonnie. They're all really like brothers to me, and I really hope to meet you guys. Maybe I'll have a vacation in Sweden one day, and maybe
let's go to Sweden.
Maybe Daniel will take me in.
Come
or
here,
something.
everyone. We'll go and kill some reindeer and kill some bears.
Oh, kill some reindeer.
Polar bears.
Okay.
Shoot them. Ted Nugent style,
Wow.
Escalating.
While Unholy's playing, of course.
Rack 'em, pack 'em, and stack 'em.
So, yeah, I'm just happy for it. Able to talk Kiss, and we all love. We wouldn't be here if we didn't love the band. That's
Amen.
the main thing. And we all love Kiss, whether it's our number one band or 2 or 3, in some people's cases. It's all fun, and I hope we can go another 10 years. I don't know if I'm going to make it.
If we live.
Anyway, yeah.
Hey, like any of these podcasts, people come and go. If anyone runs out of steam, there's next man up. There are always people who want to talk about Kiss.
That's true.
It's never been about any one of us, as we're going to see, from the next slide. It's fun to look back on the show and who's been on how many episodes.
Damn.
So I know Daniel loves stats, so I did the damn stats for this, okay?
Great, Julian.
I actually had to go back. I hadn't done any stats on the show since 2016, so I really suffered. It took all fucking day last weekend to do these. So there you go. That's the number of appearances, and you can add one to it because it doesn't include today. So going all the way back to folks who just did one. Obviously, we've had people who've come on as guests rather than as participants, on the hosting side of things, which is why their names may not be on here, even though we've had a lot of other people. I tried to keep track of some of the guests. That number's a little skewy, but there you go. Ken, 419.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Wow. So 420 as of today.
Yeah.
I guess 420. Yeah, that's
Mark
amazing.
right behind him. Well, not right behind him, but 326. That's still a shit ton of episodes.
Lot.
Same with Lonnie. Daniel, obviously, time zones and teaching does interfere with your ability to.
I like the Saturday shows.
Yeah, and when I told Alex he'd been on 55 episodes, he was amazed. And you really do lose track of the number of episodes.
Andrew, 42. I never thought that.
Yeah. And Andy. Come on. Andy's always
35,
been ready to show up and throw down and celebrate Kiss with, abandon. It's absolutely amazing. And some of the other early folk, Jay, he's still on Facebook. Chris brought in guests. Jeff Westlake, and musical projects to talk about as well, taking time off from the Bandhammer. So Mitch came on a few episodes, or two. And James, of course, that's James Campion. Who, very, very good guy. So just fun to look at those numbers.
Yeah, very fun. And if you think back, my initial thought with the podcast would be a rotating sort of thing, with having different kind of people on the podcast, since we had such a huge amount of members of the KissFAQ message board. But it didn't take long before I understood that people had a hard time showing their face online. We didn't get a lot of people into the podcast. People are a bit afraid and they don't want to show themselves. So it did take a year or two, but then it became quite clear that we are the core, and occasionally other guys can be a part of the show. But it's hard to find someone who wants to be a part of a podcast, year out in and year out. So I'm so glad that you guys had the same feeling as me and wanted to give this a shot for the long run.
The thing is, I find that having done not only this one, but I do the Yes one, and I've been on quite a few live streams of late, that people, when you're in the gallery talking, it's very simple. You have the protection of not knowing who you are really, and you can say whatever you want without any real repercussion. But when you're on here, a lot of people get the deer in the headlights thing when they're on camera. They're like, oh shit, I'm on now. It's real all of a sudden. So for some people, it's not for them. I find that they just can't find that connection with it, or find the comfort in doing it. Before, I mean, obviously when I first started doing it years back there, the first couple of times you get a little tongue tied sometimes, and you don't know what you want to say, or you fumble over stuff and you feel like a fool. But once you do it a few times, you get comfortable in it. Now I can come on to any live thing, and I've been on other people's streams as well, and did interviews on many other things, and it's become very easy to do now. So sometimes it's just a matter of getting on there, jumping on the horse, and just doing it a few times.
Yeah, that's a lot of interesting points there, Mark. But I feel I can use this in at work as well. Having practiced talking about nonsense sort of nonsense for years and years. When I'm in a meeting at school, when I'm meeting other teachers and headmasters. Do you say headmaster or principal or whatever
Principals,
you say? Yeah, principals. Yeah, I can use the podcast in order to own the meeting. I'm used to speaking. I'm used to come up with things. So this has actually been a great practice for me in order to make a mark for myself in the meetings. And we do have a lot of meetings at school. So at times when I have a meeting, you don't look forward to a meeting at school. You feel, oh no, a meeting, 2 hours of nonsense, or it's dreary. and then I think, well, think of it as a KissFAQ podcast, and then it becomes kind of fun. So
Yeah.
I've used this experience and put it into work, and it's been very useful for me. And one of the main things I wanted to start this podcast was in order to be able to practice, speaking English on a weekly basis, and that's been fantastic for me.
Hey,
Ed,
Julian,
how
do you want me to
doing,
read a couple of those comments that I
Yeah,
had
please.
from last week? There was 2 comments that it was that from last week's, but it's regarding the our 10th anniversary, and one of them was from our friend Sianamak. I hope I got that right. From Iran. So he says, I am a big fan from Iran, as you know, and I'm listening to the podcast for about 3 years now via Apple Podcast. I listened to the whole podcast almost 4 times. I became very knowledgeable because of you guys, so appreciate it. My favorite episodes are the deathmatch ones, as my favorite Kiss song is picked as second best Kiss song. Good episodes. Mark and his reasonable rants are always refreshing, and plus his trademark burps. I love Julian's voice and his knowledge about Kiss, Lonnie's wows, and our mutual Kiss best song. Ken's royalty to Gene and our beloved band, and Daniel's awesome hair, and Frank comments about stuff. You guys are awesome, and happy anniversary to another decade together, brothers. So thank you, Sianamak.
Thank you so
That
much.
was a
Very nice.
great message. Thank you a lot.
And the other one from Rex Metzler. Hey guys, not sure if you can use this for your 10th anniversary celebration episode, but I found you guys during COVID and went and watched all your previous episodes until I got caught up. I really, he went back and watched them all, or listened to them all. I really enjoy each and every episode. I think what makes your channel different is that you have people from different parts of the world. I like that. Keep up the great work, guys. So
Yeah.
Thank you, Rex.
Thank you, Rex. It's
Thank you,
always been
guys.
an important part of the show is having people from, obviously I'm British living in America. Daniel's Swedish, Mark's Canadian, Lonnie and Ken are Americans, and it's been nice. We always said that we wanted to have a female on the show as well to represent that. But you know what? 3 sides. They got Lisa. So there we go. And there's also
Get my wig.
podcast Rock City and Lee. So the female aspect is well represented out there as well. So was there a comment I wanted to respond to? I can't remember now, so we'll just move on. Last bit of kind of goofy video is just how have we changed in the past 10 years. And so here's just a quick and dirty little morph. Jesus Christ.
Well, I don't know. Oh, Lord. You picked the worst picture.
Yeah, that was your cold
Serious,
face, right?
No hat.
No, I'm rocking that one.
There's just no fucking difference with Ken. Jesus
Ken's the same.
Ken's a vampire. You and Keanu Reeves.
I have a.
God damn.
I use the Kiss casket as a.
It's a fridge full of blood.
Well, just a quick one about
Come out at
Mark's.
night,
A thing about Mark's cap. When I went back and looked at the episodes on YouTube, I was thinking about Mark's cap because I've seen that a whole lot of times. So I had to find out when did the cap make its first appearance. And actually, Mark's cap is closing in on the 10th anniversary as well. Because in the 30th episode back in 2015, in June, that cap over there, the thing on up here was a little bit more white. It's a bit yellowish now. But it made its first appearance on episode 30. So 9.5 years for that cap. That's pretty cool that you've been able to keep track of the same cap for almost 10 years. So hats off to the cap.
Yes, thank you, Alexander, for mentioning that. I appreciate that.
I started wearing the cap I don't like wearing headphones on my skull, so having a cap under it was a little bit of a cushion for it. But I want to bring Rising Force's comments back up, because obviously Chris has been a moderator on the FAQ for many, many, many years. I jokingly call him the Banhammer, but he's been an absolutely massive help on that side of the equation as well. So while he's only been on a few episodes of the Kiss FAQ podcast, he's a critical part of the Kiss FAQ family.
Big Ace fan, I think.
Big Rising, big
Ace fan. Ingve fan. Oh, Swedish. Cool.
Yeah, he actually got me back into Ingve. So there we go.
Nice.
All right, 10 years on. I'm going to go first, on the 10 years on thoughts. And you guys have all covered different aspects of it, Daniel, down to how it's helped you in your meetings. It's helped me absolutely dominate meetings at work. So I won't shut up now in meetings, and I'm not afraid to clutch the table, grasp, that's a management term, to take control when other people aren't leading a conversation at work. So, I've gotten something out of the show above and beyond the enjoyment of just getting together with fellow Kiss fans. My wife does not want to hear about fucking Kiss or Aerosmith or Def Leppard.
No wife does.
Doesn't care that, like, for example, my mail call this week included a Japanese magazine from 1996. She doesn't care. And it's like, just get that out of here. I don't care. So I get to show up every week and, talk with fellow fans, whoever's on the panel that week, whatever the topic is, whatever the topic we thought it was going to be, and where it went off and took a left turn at Albuquerque. So it's, the podcast to me remains getting together and talking about something that's, a core part of my life and my enjoyment. And it's become so much more since we've moved to StreamYard. And now we've got people chiming in live, with their opinions, their thoughts, and contributing to the conversation. In many cases, I do a double take on the comments because it brings up an aspect of the conversation that I haven't thought about. When I'm talking live, I'm not researching a topic. I'm just real time streaming. And the great part is that you get all these different perspectives live, and not only from you guys who I'm doing the show with. So that, to me, 10 years on, is what I'm enjoying most about still doing this, because I'm also enjoying going back, and we are covering ground that we've done before with our Refocus series, and just to see how much we've developed and put in the effort to look back on these new albums when we celebrate them. It keeps it fresh. So Kiss is eternal, and doing this show is, something.
Yeah, I just have to mention that something that I'm a bit worried about, and I think maybe Lonnie, Mark, and Ken have had the same thoughts, because at times it seems like Julian has a lot of stuff going on, now you have like 3 books on the way, so you have a lot of stuff going on. Writing a book. I've never written a book in my life. I've written some short stories, and that was a lot of work, but I've never written one book. And you have 3 on the way. So one fear is that Julian one day will say like, guys, I have a lot of things going on. I have to focus on my books, and let's push the podcast until next month, or let's do it every other week. So you have to give it to Julian, being such a trooper, even though he's got a lot of work going on all kinds of things. He still shows up every week for the podcast and makes this thing happen. So hats off to Julian once again. I think that's great.
I can make no promises about my participation. And, this week I was contacted by the Rock and Pod folk in Nashville as to whether I was going to be attending this year. And I had to beg off because I have too much going on in my personal life, in my professional life, and then also with those projects, because that other stuff comes first, family and work.
Of course.
As Lonnie well knows, work gets in the way of life.
Alarms. Goes off all the time.
For all of us. But what I'm also confident in is that the Kiss FAQ podcast is more than about me. Lonnie can host. You can host. Mark can host. Ken can host.
The
Anyone can
KissFAQ
host.
avatars will take over in a year or two.
The avatars.
Yeah, and we can farm it out to
AI.
avatars and AI. No, so anyone can host a podcast. It just changes. When I guide it, it has a certain character. When Ken hosts, it has a certain character. We all have our own styles, and that's, if anything, a very positive thing. So if I do become a bit bogged down in these projects, which are happening this year, it's for a good cause, number one, and also know that it doesn't stop you guys from doing a show or anyone else participating if any of us are busy. Because you were talking, Big Mouth, I'm going to share my all-time favorite show intro. And this is, when I'm thinking back to, over the past 10 years, this is just one of those moments that makes me smile.
Hi, and welcome to episode whatever.
So whatever.
Sorry about that.
That's
Yeah,
wild.
there you go, Daniel. That's one of my all-time favorite moments, just because it was so freaking weird. Let's go into another video clip. This one from our good friend in Southeast Asia, Godi.
Hello, Kiss FAQers. This is Gene Simmons from Kiss, wishing you all a happy 10th anniversary. Not really. This is Godi from the FAQ, wishing you all a happy 10th anniversary. Gentlemen, thank you very much for providing us with some fantastic shows every week. I really enjoy them. And none more so than episode 398, I think it was, when you discussed Kiss merch. So it was only appropriate that I film this with some of my merch around me, sporting, in honor of Lonnie, my original from the Cardiff UK gig Revenge Tour t-shirt. And the reason why I really enjoyed your episode on the merch was, well, there were many things I enjoyed about it. First and foremost, seeing the crap that Lonnie has. I mean, I have a lot of crap in this room, I admit it. This being one of the latest, and why I bought this, I have no real idea. I think that's probably about the 4th or 5th time that I have worn it. I have no real intention to wear it. It looks brilliant. I have to say, the people who made this did a fantastic job of it. But why I bought it, God knows. Lonnie, the Jack-in-a-Box, the musical toothbrush, and that Gene plushie, the Gene plushie, unbelievable. Lonnie, respect to you. You have some amazing crap amongst your merch. But actually, my favorite part of that particular show was just after Julian has said that he'd given a bear a wet back. Didn't give any detail, so, my mind is thinking, he's given a bear a wet back. Daniel puts up on screen the infamous Calling Dr. Love t-shirt with, I guess, the accountant giving the dog to use Julian's parlance, a wet back. And I'd never seen that t-shirt before. It was unbelievable. There's a part of me that wants to track it down and add it to the collection of my ridiculous number of t-shirts that I already have, just because it is so bad. But thank you for sharing that, Daniel. I'm really pleased you did, because, look, all these years, I guess maybe 2 years since you did that episode, it still gives me a great laugh today. So, fellas, thank you very much for your shows. I really enjoy them, and keep on rocking. And to all the other Kiss FAQers out there, keep watching or listening to them as well. All right. So from me and from Gene, bye-bye.
Wow, that's awesome. That's
great.
an awesome thing. Yeah, I remember that episode. It was an idea I got back in the day. And we had a lot of fun on Lonnie's expense there. We laughed at all the stuff he had. But I do need that t-shirt that guy had.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Wow, what a t-shirt from Cardiff '92 when they made that when they did that UK tour. That would be something. Thank you for that message. It was cool, and that episode was kind of fun. It was kind of fun, so I agree with that guy.
Lonnie,
That was great.
That was a lot. That episode was a lot of fun. I had fun digging out crap that I do not have out or displayed. That I remember getting stuff out of storage bins downstairs and bringing it up for the show, and my wife like, "What the hell is that?" I go, "There's shit downstairs you don't even know about, honey."
And we do have to mention back in '95 when they made that Calling Dr. Love T-shirt. What were they thinking? I actually bought the fork head off of Nico. Strike Magazine Nico. Yeah, and I got it. And the moment I put it on, the arms fell off it. It was so old, so the arms just fell down, and I still have the middle with the guy with the forks in the head. They made so awful T-shirts back in '95, and Calling Dr. Love was number one when it comes to awful.
well, let's answer the question that Godey asked. And there's a nice picture of Daniel camping. I would be so down to do that. I miss the Adirondacks and camping up there, climbing. I'd love to get back into shape to climb the mountains, and get to the top and be outdoors and cooking and dodging bears. I once had an encounter with a bear in upstate New York, which was really fun. He actually came off worse. He had a wet back. All right, so the explanation to that, Cody, I'm not going to leave you hanging. When I was a kid and we'd first moved to America, my parents would send me upstate New York for a summer camp, and it was 8 weeks in the Adirondacks. And we'd do swimming, fishing, hiking as part of the theme song to Camp Polka Moonshine, which it was. And we went camping, and we were in a lean-to on a trail. And I woke up in the night and needed to go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom and did my thing, and the bush that I was urinating on moved. And
bear?
I like to think it was a bear, but come on, I was 8 or 9 years old at the time, so it was probably a squirrel or a skunk or the wind, but I thought I'd pissed on a bear. So that's where that story comes from. There you go. There's your answer. Let's move into another video message. This one is from Colin Francis, and most of these video messages I've not seen either yet, so I'm seeing them at the same time as you guys.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Colin Francis. I've lived in Oswestry, Shropshire in the UK. Been a Kiss fan for over 40 years. A few years ago, as I started to discover Kiss podcasts, I came across the first episode of KissFAQ. Listened to every episode since. I love the diversity of the episodes and the chemistry of you all, and all the Kiss news, keeping me updated. So I just wanted to say thank you and have a happy 10th anniversary, and thank you for making me feel a part of your Kiss family.
That's awesome. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Submit that. Ken, your turn. 10 years on, Ken. Time for you to monologue.
Monologue. 10 years on. You know what? It's really amazing that we are able to continue this thing, and I'm always looking for new ideas for, I'm trying to come up with ideas for new episodes. Of course, we rehash stuff over and over, but try to sometimes come up with some new ones. I actually have some on the burner. Some are also from the community. We get a lot of, just think about how many board topics episodes we've done, tons of them. Because that's part of the community of the board, and that's most of the people, or a lot of the people that watch us. I guess there's others that don't even know there's a board, but we get a lot of ideas from that too, or suggestions, and we sometimes take those, or we come up with stuff. I'm always trying to think of, what would I want to, I'm a Kiss fan, obviously, and it's like, what do I want to talk about? What would I like to? It's like, oh, I haven't thought about that angle of this or that album or whatever. And just like Julian said earlier, the refocused series that we've done, it's a little bit more expanded and more detailed, and it's really been fun actually making it fun going over these albums again, and rating them in a different way that we used to. But going forward, and my I don't know if you're talking about favorite episodes, Julian, or anything like that, but I'll just say that my favorite episode is always the next episode. That's for me. It's always the next episode because
You're like
I
Kiss.
know we're going
This
to
is
talk
the
about.
greatest record ever.
Yeah,
Next one.
the next episode, whatever it may be, is always my favorite episode because I look forward to, like people that watch, I guess, look forward to watching and enjoying some Kiss stuff, and I enjoy talking Kiss the same way the next week and so on down the line. So it's part of what keeps me going. Keeps me, I guess, young.
Yeah, why the
Rock and
hell
roll
not?
keeps you young.
Nice adjustment, Danny. I'm going to keep changing the layout to see you moving your camera around. So,
I'm a pro.
yeah, let's go to a phone message. And this one's from, who is this one from? Oh, yeah.
Hello, this is Gene Simmons of the rock group Kiss. Julian, I love that you keep doing the Kiss books, but remember, you can still license our logo for a small fee, which in return will sell many more books. And great job on running the KissFAQ board and banning many users. As you know, I do have a little experience in this area, for I have banned you from all of my social media accounts as well. And Lonnie, what can I say but wow, wow, wow. And I must say, so sorry for your loss. Unfortunately, the Bengals did not make it to the playoffs this year. Also, thank you for the love of the Revenge album. That's where I got my balls back. Paul wasn't too happy about that. And Mark, what is your problem with the Destroyer album and Mr. Bob Ezrin? At least I have a reason why I have to say that Destroyer is our best album. Because Paul told me to. And if I don't follow orders, well, enough said. Oh, one more thing. Try using Beano. And Daniel, Sweden, eh? I really do love your country. And you do seem to be a real Kiss fan. But unfortunately, Paul is your favorite, so I will have to ding you on that. I thought Fits Like a Glove would be enough to make me your number one. By the way, your English is really good. And last but not least, Ken, I thought you were my biggest fan, but regarding last week's topic, the Kiss song that moves you, I hear that you picked a Paul song over one of mine. Voice of reason? More like voice of treason. So in conclusion, I would like to congratulate the KissFAQ on 10 years of podcasting. And here's to many, many more. Yeah.
That's a stand-up comedian, that guy.
Nice.
Awesome. This is quickly becoming one of my favorite episodes, this one.
No, this is fun, but before we go to Daniel for his 10 years on monologue, I think it's only fair to have it kind of introduced with another fan video, also from Sweden.
Hi there, everybody at KissFAQ, and happy 10 years anniversary. I am Bernt Månsson, and I am half of the podcast Let Me Know, where my colleague Marco Rovinen and I make Kiss Pods every week, just as you. Let's take you for a walk and a stroll for the past 10 years. We are located in Sweden, in Stockholm. This is my house, as you can see. And I'm going to take you a stroll about 10 years back when I discovered the KissFAQ podcast. And I thought it was called a KissFAQ, but I was wrong. I'm sorry to admit that. Anyhow, this is the podcast, the Kiss podcast I've been listening to for the longest of time. And when we decided to make our own podcast, Marco and I, 4 years ago, we decided to take inspiration from the best, which of course is KissFAQ. So, I wish you the best 10 more years. And if I may wish something, and that is, come and be guests on our podcast, let me know. We do it in Swedish with English subtitles and German subtitles, whatever subtitles that you like. And we would like to have you as our guests. We had Daniel from time to time. Julian has been part of our guest team. But there's 2 more guys. Maybe you all can come to us. And we would like you to do podcasts perhaps outside as well. And not only in the studio. What do you say about that? I'm looking forward to the next lovely 10 years with KissFAQ. From me, Bernd, at the Let Me Know podcast. Lovely, guys. Keep it up.
Yeah, respect to Bernd. He makes me smile every time. All right, Daniel, this is your platform now.
Well, I don't know really what to say. I have to comment on Bernd's video. Such a great video, and Bernd is such a character. And I actually have been a part of that podcast quite a few times. And tomorrow we're doing another episode on Cat number 1, you know, that record from Peter Criss back in '94. So I enjoy speaking my native language at times about Kiss. And one of my big downers is, of course, that even though I've spoken to you for 10 years, I've never actually met you guys. I've never been able to, do stuff with you guys. But the guys on the Let Me Know podcast, they live in Sweden, so we actually met up in Gothenburg this year when Gene Simmons played. He had a gig there in Gothenburg, and it's such a treat to meet real, true Kiss fans. And I think it was kind of what a moment to meet guys you've been talking to on a podcast for several episodes. I've done quite a few with them, and it's so fascinating to meet them, and instantly you feel like I mean, it doesn't matter that you haven't met in person because you're so close to each other. So that would be the same experience, I guess, if I ever met you guys. But so for me, the Let Me Know podcast is another outlet where I'm actually able to meet Kiss fans in person, because you have to know that I live in the north of Sweden, and it's a very long way to any other true Kiss fan. So I really appreciate the time I spent with Marco and Bernd in Gothenburg. It was such a bless, and it would be cool to meet you guys at some point, but we'll see if it'll ever happen. But when it comes to the KissFAQ podcast, it has opened so many doors for me, and I've been able to take part in other podcasts because I've been here on this one, and also I've been writing stuff for Kiss fanzines just because I've been here. So thanks to you guys for allowing me to be a part of this, even though I'm not a native speaker. I try my best, and at times it goes, at times I've been too blunt, I think. But Julian he has saved me a few times when I've been too blunt. So I keep on going, and I love the podcast, and I hope, like Ken said, I hope this will continue many years to come.
I've got enough air miles to come to Sweden, so you'd still have to come down off your freaking mountain.
Yeah, I have to do that. Let's pick a Kiss convention next year or something.
Come on, Scandinavians, get an expo together. So
yeah.
Give me an excuse to come, and it's got to have a Talvis lecture as part of it as well. So I hope you're checking out his cat YouTube stuff that he's been putting out, because Alex has a lot of good stuff that I've been enjoying as well.
He's actually drawing quite a crowd, Talvis. He's doing like 300 persons every time he does that sort of stuff. So I guess he'll keep on doing those kind of.
I mean, his lectures aren't that much different from what I try and do with the song stories.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically
pretty
just
similar.
A lecture with a bit of background music, but
you could be a part of such a lecture. You could be, like
whole different level to do it in front of an audience. So
no problem for you. No problem for you.
Nah, we'd see.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to my favorite deliverer of stroopwafels for her contribution. Sylvie, thank you.
Hello guys, I'm Sylvie from the Netherlands. Wishing you a very happy 10th anniversary for the KissFAQ. A few years ago, my best friend Sander introduced me to you guys. And this is him, Sander. I know him since 1985 and he's been my best friend since. And a Kiss friend, of course. We always talk Kiss. So I always enjoy your shows, but especially during the lockdown with COVID, it was a really good support and an escape from the world, just like Kiss can be an escape from the world. And I also make these photo books, and you made it in one of these books. This is one of them. And you're right here. Look at this. How you're famous. I always enjoy listening to you, and I wish I could come over and give you this. The Dutch cookie stroopwafel, and I know Julian likes them a lot. So maybe one day I can hand them over. But until then, I wish you a very happy 10th anniversary. And I always say, rock and roll all night and party every day. Bye-bye.
I love that frame picture in the background. That is very cool. So impressive.
Very
thank
cool.
you, Sylvie. And thank you for all the times you've given me stroopwafels. They go so well with coffee.
Amazing.
Before we go to Lonnie, I want to go to the phone lines for one more message. And this is let it do the talking.
Hello, this is Live 2 Side 4. I just wanted to call and congratulate you guys on 10 years of the KissFAQ podcast. I have listened for probably 10 years now. Work outside sales. I'm on the road a lot, so I have plenty of time to listen in, and I look forward each week to hearing your new episodes. I wish you guys all the best, and hope to see you around for another 10 years. Good job, guys.
Thank you, Alive to Side for board member. Lonnie, you're up. 10 years on.
It has been great these last 10 years, getting to know you guys, getting to know members of the FAQ, and it astonishes me that how many people listen to this. Because to me, it's just the five of us, or sometimes four of us, or whoever can make it, just sitting around and talking Kiss. And it's crazy to me that as many people listen to this as they do. And the outreach the show has, Aaron Philpott from Australia will DM me, and that just blows my mind that somebody in Australia is listening to this nonsense sometimes, and just me off the cuff talking about Kiss. And we've heard just today from so many international people who listen to the show, and but I guess I shouldn't be that blown away by it. I mean, we talk to Daniel every week from Sweden, so the reach of this show is crazy. And when I've gone to Kiss shows, people would come up to me and say, "Hey, Lonnie, how you doing?" And my brother's like, "Who the hell was that?" I'm like, "I don't know. They must listen to the show. I don't know." And he's like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me." And I'm like, "I don't know." So I not only appreciate every person that's ever been on the show, but I appreciate all the listeners too. And like I said, it's very humbling that many people listen to this. And there's podcasts that I listen to that are appointment podcasts for me every week, and to think that we are appointment podcasts to other people is very humbling. So thank you to everyone who listens each and every week. We wouldn't do it if you guys weren't listening every week.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Here's another one. Bill is not just a listener but a good friend, and he was a part of the Look It's Rock and Roll sidecast that I did with Andy on Wasp. So we've got a nice video from him as well. Here we go.
Hey, this is Little Willie, Kiss Jeeper 70 on the Kiss FAQ. Checking in with a video congratulating the FAQ podcast on 10 years of podcasting. That takes a lot, and it was a really good effort by everybody involved. I appreciate all the entertainment we've received over the past 10 years. I kind of checked in at about 2018, so I'm about 7 years in on it right now. Julian, Ken, Mark, Daniel, Lonnie, who shares my love and pain for the Bengals, Andrew, Alex, Alan, Andy, Joe, and Chris. Those are the panel members I can remember right now, and that's as far back as I got to go in my little bit of research. You asked about the favorite things about the FAQ, and there's really not anything to not like about the FAQ podcast, because it's just community coming together and people, speaking their mind without having to blow up out of proportion about anything. But they asked about a couple favorite parts of the podcast, and I dug the crossover podcast with the other podcasters, like Potter Than Hell and Growing Up Rock. That was a pretty good episode. The end of the road announcement, that was kind of shocking that they were finally going to call a plug on that, and then not too long after that, I got to do my debut on the Kiss FAQ podcast with the 2018 recap. And I had a quote from mine at episode 220 at about the 17-minute mark. I said, I hope it lasts 3 years.
But the final tour, and I really hope it can last 3 years. I hope it can last especially into the summer, because they're supposed to come back to Cincinnati too in the summer, and that sounds like it's going to be pretty awesome. I'll get to see them indoors and out.
Boy, did it last 3 years, all right. I was really stoked to join the Look It's Rock and Roll podcast for the portion of the Wasp catalog that we've been working on, and hopefully we get back to pretty soon. Schedules are kind of crazy, but we're going to work on that. But then, there's just the general stuff, the general board topics, the deathmatch competitions, the staying on top of the news. You guys were always right there first with the news, and good discussion about it, and there wasn't too much complaining. Not too much. But, where some people read the newspaper, that's the people that are on the message board reading it. And I kind of come in with the podcast. It's like watching TV for me. So I get it nice and condensed. And the general discussion. The FAQ, to its core, are a great bunch of people. I noticed it was nearly 10,000 members today, going strong. And the podcast is still as entertaining as it was the first time I watched it. So again, congratulations on 10 years, everybody. And keep supporting the Kiss FAQ podcast, and have a great 2025. Little Willie out.
That's super cool. Thank you.
Hooday!
Thank you.
Hooday.
Yes.
Exactly. And he did raise a certain clip, which we're going to have to go back in time now to episode 184.
I do, actually. And
Excellent.
I know this might be a little bit of a touchy subject to discuss, but when we kind of touched base on this a little bit already here, the upcoming tour 2019. Now, I have a few things that I want to talk about in terms of this. Now, is I'm almost starting to get a bit of a bad feeling that we could possibly see this tour for the very first time, a tour in which backing tracks are used for Mr. Paul Stanley. Do you think that this could be a possibility this time around?
Okay. Ken.
I think it's possible.
And I'm thinking that Paul Stanley as the Rick Allen of vocalists might well be feasible. That there is a way to technologically augment him. All right, Mark, you called it. You called Lonnie. There, you skirted answering that question that day when I went back to tape. So
and it's like a phone call in the middle of that clip of me doing the show at freaking work. Ridiculous.
Mark, you're up. 10 years on. That's your lead-in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny when we look back at some of these things, what we talk about and how some of the things happen. Some of them didn't happen. I'm not going to say I'm some sort of prophet that can see the future, but I was, listening back to some of these things. I'm not too surprised that some of this stuff came true. I'm still kind of holding on to my 2.0 theory as well. We'll see that maybe 5 years from now. We'll see if that comes true. But you never know. You're nodding your head, Julian, but look what happened with the backing tracks. So going on to the 10 years, I'm just going to say this. I've loved doing this podcast. I've said it over and over again. If it wasn't for the fact that I've done this podcast, I don't think I would have done some of the things that I've done later. Like, I don't think I would have had the courage to do the Yes one, which, which I'm doing as well. That's a fantastic podcast. Being with you guys has given me all the sort of support and courage and, sort of power to go and do these things on video. So I thank you guys again for your support and, your backing that, during these times. The people that are involved in this podcast, I'm now talking about the listeners, are essential to the well-being of this podcast and the continuation of this podcast. I'll just give a couple of examples here. Oberheim, who just posted on here not long ago on the chat, is somebody who I just recently ran into. He messaged me on my Bandcamp page saying how he discovered my music, and in the span of 2 days, this guy bought every single thing that I had available on my Bandcamp page and has become a devoted fan of Project Gemini. And I want to thank him personally for that. And again, without this podcast, how would he even have found out about this? Who knows if he would have, so this podcast not only supporting KISS, but has done a lot of things in pushing other music, like we've said earlier on. Somebody else again mentioned COVID. I think that this is extremely important to point out that in a time when people were very nervous about the future of the planet or what was going to happen, our podcast was one of the ones that gave them solitude and gave them something to go to and escape that sort of worry for an hour and 20 minutes or however long it was. And if there's ever been a reason to continue this podcast, I always think back to that, because one of my sisters once asked me, she goes, "How you've been doing this for so long?" At that time, I think it was like 8 years. She goes, "How can you been doing it for so long?" And I go, honestly, I thought about that for a long while, and that answer right there is probably one of the best reasons. It gives people something to listen to that they enjoy, and it's an escape. Music for me has always been an escape, and so for some people, watching podcasts is an escape as well. And it's important because sometimes life can be stressful, life can be challenging, and to have something that you can go back to and give you that sort of peace that you need sometimes in your day, I think is extremely, extremely important, and we're blessed that we have so many episodes. We're like, 560 episodes. Someone can just randomly go back and say, okay, I'm going to pick 150 today and watch that. And they can watch a fantastic episode on something and even look back at it and go, wow, I totally forgot about when this happened or what happened in KISS history on that day. So I think it's extremely important. And I want to give a shout out to the podcast members here, the community, for another thing. And this is a little bit personal and emotional for me, so I'm going to just give me a little bit of slack here. These people have been fantastic. In times that has been very tough for me. For example, with the passing of Jackie and Shadow, my dogs, I've never experienced a more, supportive group of people as them, who are sending me messages all the time and thank yous and, get well soon. And, I hope you feel better and stuff like that. Fantastic. I mean, what kind of group of people, can you say about that? Like, people like that, you can't say anything bad about people like that. Sure, we have our differences. Sure, we don't agree on everything, but as a whole, I believe that this community are nothing but a bunch of great people that, at their core are well-meaning and want to, do well and support KISS and support us and other things. So I just can't stress that enough, that I think that, the people involved in this, whether it's us up on the panel here or people listening, I think are a great bunch of people and a fantastic community. So thank you again for the 10 years. And I hope that you'll stick around for another 10 or 5 or 20, who knows.
Wow, what a speech, Mark. That's great.
Very, very nicely said, Mark. And again, you've been through some tough times on the show, but here you are. And again, it's great having someone who's actively making music as part of the show, because it's great to escape from listening to what we do. Like I told you before we went on air today, how, one of your very old songs popped up on my YouTube playlist this morning, and just seeing Project Gemini mentioned a few times today by people who are watching, and again, Dark Monarchy, Joe Bailey, as well has led to other music. David Donnelly's music. The podcasting community has a lot of musicians involved in it. Lee McCormick, who some of you may have recalled from the Rock and Pod, has a new album out as well that he's done. And so music is a very important part of this journey, and it's non-KISS music as well. So I want to put up a couple more of these comments, because what you said was, really important. Moving on, we've got another video message now, and let's see what Jason has to say.
You wanted the best and you're shit out of luck. You got me instead. Greetings from Detroit Rock City. Congratulations on 10 epic years of the KissFAQ podcast. I came on board with you guys around May of 2016, and I have been hooked ever since. Loyal weekly viewer, and just cannot express how much this podcast means to me. So before this turns into some long-winded rambling diatribe, let me just say congratulations, Julian, Ken, Mark, Lonnie, Daniel, Alex, and everyone else who has been a part of this amazing podcast. I'm hoping you have all the success in all your future endeavors, and here's to 10 more great years. Rock and roll!
That's awesome.
Nice.
All right. Someone, we've had a couple of people post, is there going to be a bloopers reel? No, I don't want to revisit. It might make a bloopers reel, nor do I have the time to put that one together. But when we look back at the episodes that we've done, is there any episode that you'd really, really like a do-over on? Without saying magic, because even though, that might be one that people think I want to do over, I don't want to have a do-over on that, because it's a learning point, and it's also evidence. Again, how aspirations don't always meet expectations or result in what we hope for. I actually don't have a lot of episodes that I do want to do over. I enjoy doing the refocused. I enjoy revisiting topics that we've talked about, or to see how our viewpoints have changed on the day that we record it. But for any one particular episode, no. Lonnie, what about you? Any do-overs you'd love to do?
I don't know if there's necessarily a do-overs that I would want to do. I mean, we've stated our opinion at the time, and you look back on it, maybe you think differently about something that you said 10 years ago. At this point, maybe your views on a certain song or something are different. But I don't think there's necessarily a do-over. But I look back at if you go back and look at some of those early episodes, I think I'm really kind of rigid and really nervous and not nearly as relaxed as I am today doing the show. So, but like Julian said, it's a learning thing too. You can't get relaxed without repetition. Repetition is the key to most everything in life. So, no, I don't think so. It's everything is a learning thing. So I don't think I'd want to do anything over for sure necessarily.
Daniel, how about you?
Well, I recall an early episode. This must have been the first or second year, where I was podcasting from work because the Wi-Fi was so good at work. So I bought 5 beers, and then I used my key card, and then I headed into my workplace, and then I did the podcast from there. But I remember one time, I can't get my head around this really, but we were doing a podcast and the alarm went off.
Oh yeah.
In the building, the alarm went off, and I went running in order to stop the alarm, and somehow I couldn't manage to get back, so I had to run home and get an additional key card, and then like 20 minutes later I was back, and then I was using the key card in order to get into the building, and I got back to the podcast, but then it was like 5 minutes left. But I think it showed the character, the will to be a part of the podcast, so I think it was all good. But in hindsight, I would have done differently, somehow not getting locked out of the workplace. So I recall that one, but it was kind of messy.
Yep. Alex, again, it's all a learning moment. Even though we do this on a regular basis, shit always doesn't go the way you hope or expect. So just live it, enjoy it. Mark, any episodes you'd like to redo?
If anybody on here, probably people would suspect would say, yeah, I'd like to do a do-over. Would probably think me with my comments about Destroyer and Bob Ezrin and all these other things, but I stand firm with my comments, and I have no apologies for any of them. So I will
firm with his hatred.
That's right. I stand, resolute here, saying that I will
by my side.
I will not change any of, and I don't have any reason to go back and change anything. Everything that I think that we've done stands on its own merit, and I have something to offer people to listen to. I mean, all you need to know is just listen to the comments that were made about people saying that they've went back to the beginning of the whole thing and listened to the whole thing. That's all you need to know about, I think, the quality of the podcast. Sure, maybe there was, some of them we weren't as
Technical
comfortable
issues.
with, or there were issues, and with me, my famous internet would go a lot on me. So, but it's all a part of the learning curve, and it was all part of the development of the show. So I think that this is, there's nothing for me to want to do over. I think it stands on its own.
Yeah.
I remembered one episode that I call it the flatulent episode, because there was something we all just lost it during that. I don't know if someone had a whoopee cushion or something, and we were just lost it. And I don't know which episode it was. I was trying to find it. I couldn't, because there's too many to look through. But it was just one of those things. That's almost a blooper reel. We were just we couldn't stop laughing. I mean, we're hearing these noises coming up. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was someone's chair or what, but we were just lost it. But as for other great, I mean, like I said earlier, my favorite is always going to be the next episode, because don't know what's to come, but I know I'm going to enjoy it, doing it.
So cool.
All right. We've got one message left. So Damien, 1977.
Happy anniversary, guys. This is Damien, 1977, username on the FAQ, longtime listener and lurker, sporadic poster. Every week I look forward to listening to your guys' show on the weekend and escape from the geopolitical bullshit that the real world offers every day nowadays. Thank you for doing what you're doing and taking the time out of your busy lives to continue making the podcast. It's greatly appreciated. I used to put a KISS fanzine out back in the late 80s, early 90s called Destroyer Magazine up in Victoria, BC, Canada. So I know how much work it takes to put into these sorts of projects. Thanks again. You guys rock. Keep it up.
I want to thank everyone who's sent in videos and phone messages to help us celebrate today. We do appreciate the effort and time that you've taken to express, your feelings for the show very much. So thank you all very much for those contributions today. The final part of this discussion, though, is just looking back over 10 years and some of the episodes that have, well, let's let them speak for themselves. 10 years of the FAQ year by year and the top 10 episodes of each year. And hopefully some of you guys have some thoughts on these episodes. Let's go. 2015. The magic episode. Yeah, and the way these episodes are calculated are in that calendar year, the most popular episode. Going back 10 years ago, we were very optimistic about magic. There's no surprise. What it offered, what it promised, obviously is something that resonates to this day. If someone was to propose that sort of book, well, people would be all over it with expectations, but not with their money now, because a lot of people got burned from it. And that's why I left it in there. I won't censor these results because they're embarrassing of having promoted it and supported it. It is what it is. And again, people have learned from that.
Well, I'll make a quick comment on the Ross Radley episode. At the time, I thought it was a great episode. It was a great interview, and I'm just glad I didn't, buy the book. But I know a lot of people who did, and I mentioned it last week. But I had to do I did a poll. And who's the most hated Kiss fan in the Kiss army? And there were only two options. One was Ross Radley, the other one was Gooch. And lo and behold, Ross Radley isn't that hated, because the other guy got 77% of the hatred. So people are starting to forget about Ross Radley maybe, but it was, it was a terrible thing.
Yeah. And right on number 9 that year is the Shout It Out Loud book with James Campion. So, Lonnie, any of those you want to comment on those episodes?
I really liked the episode we did with James Campion. It was really, really good. I enjoyed that book and enjoyed chatting with him about that. And, the Ross Radley thing, I remember that episode. I actually did that from California. I was in Los Angeles at the time, visiting my wife's sister, and I did that like from a bedroom upstairs. Just my Wi-Fi is really shitty on that episode. I remember that. But no, I mean those are fun. I mean, just looking at that, it's and the samurai saga, that whole nonsense that was going on at the time, and how everybody was in an uproar about that. That was 10 years ago. It's crazy. So no, those are pretty cool episodes right there that we're seeing for the people watching on YouTube.
Yeah, and look at that one, episode 48, Kiss in Japan, book author. Yeah, Elaine.
Yeah.
How many books? When we talk about magic and people who don't walk the talk, Elaine has a newsletter coming out, and is no doubt has something in his pocket for the future as well. Just like I can continue working on stuff. So don't be put off just because one clown screwed up everything. Mark, any picks for you from this year before we move on?
Yeah, surprisingly, I think people might be shocked. I really enjoyed the Shout It Out Loud book episode. I think James was a great interview, and I do own the book, believe it or not, and I have read it. And my feelings aside of the book, I think it was a great description of the process and the recording of it. And I'm a sucker for those kind of books where I go into detail about the recording ends of things. So it's definitely a great book. If you don't own it, you should really have that in your collection. And the Creatures of the Night episode too, I think is great. That's one of my favorite albums. So anytime there's an episode on that, I will definitely be on that. And believe it or not, I did watch the debut not long ago again, because I've gotten on this kind of kick where I've gotten back to the sort of podcast that I've been involved with or loved, and go back to the very, very start and just see the roots of it. So it's been interesting.
Ken, last words before we move on to 2016.
Yeah, the magic episode. Yeah, it was good. It was exciting, thinking that it was going to be some cool book, but unfortunately that didn't pan out. And a lot of people got robbed, unfortunately, from that deal. But yeah, the thing with Alan with his Japan books, that was the start, I think, of it all. The great start to his series of books that he's had. He's had a number of books. He keeps putting these. I don't know how he keeps coming up with more material, but he does, and they're all really cool books. So that's the what is it? Tip the hat to him for that. Yeah, and I remember the James Campion Shout Out Loud book, that episode, and it was interesting seeing his I guess his favorite album, and he's decided to write a book about it, and he did a great job. So those are all fun, cool episodes.
Yep, James did a great book on was it Hey Jude as well.
Oh yeah, he did on the song.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
Super deep. I've really gotten off on books like that, and there's also a book on Walk This Way, just dedicated
really?
on song.
Okay.
So well worth checking out. Let's move on. 2016. Wow. No, it's not Lonnie, a Lost Kiss album.
It's not Lonnie's album. Yeah.
There were some good episodes this year. Obviously, the 40th anniversary of Mark's favorite album was one. I can't remember what a lot of these topics were about, but the release of Kiss Rocks Vegas was a very fun episode, just because I went to Vegas for that, and when it finally came out on video, just to relive some of the moment was very cool. Lonnie, your pick for 2016.
Yeah, the Vegas thing was cool, because I too went to Vegas for a couple shows, and that was fun to read. I mean, when it finally came out 2 years later, nothing's timely, of course, but that was fun. The reunion at 20, because I love the reunion tour, not as much as Andrew, but I do love the reunion tour. First time I got to see the band, so those were fun to do. Freedom to Rock or Not is number 5. I guess they had just announced that Freedom to Rock tour in 2016 that they did for smaller markets and that. So, the 40th anniversary of Destroyer. I'm sure that's a fun listen. We can hear Mark bash the album for an hour and a half. So, and me get mad at him and ask him why he's on the show. So, I'm sure those are fun to listen to.
Yeah, we had Invasion at 30. All right, Mark, what's your favorite episode in 2016 from that list?
I mean, actually, there's a lot of great episodes on this. It's interesting to make note, though, how quickly the podcast started picking up steam. I mean, the Wow, a Lost Kiss album was great. The Wendy O. Williams record, it's still one of the great listens that I have still, like, listening to that record. I love that record. The whole Kiss Rocks Vegas review was really good because, again, we were lucky to at that time have some kind of a new release that we could do and talk about at that time. So that's another great podcast for sure. The reunion tour, I'm like Lonnie, I got to see them on the reunion tour a lot. I think I saw like 4 shows during that tour, and was a big time in my life. So of course that was a great talk as well. And the Invasion, Vinnie Vincent, their 30th anniversary. I think that's what the thing that you were talking about. I think that's what that was about. But yeah, these are all great topics to talk about, So, but again, I really enjoyed that Wendy O. Williams one.
Ken.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the audience agrees that Wow, the Wendy O. Williams episode was good, because I enjoyed doing that one because I thoroughly enjoy that album too. I think it's like we've said, it's kind of a lost Kiss album. Even though Wendy's vocals are a little rough, but they're fine. It works. It still worked, and the music on there is all really good. All the songs were really, really, really good. I wish Kiss would have saved some of those for themselves, but whatever. I guess at that point, but. The other ones from there that year, I don't know. It's all blur. We do so many episodes. The Time to Rant, I'm sure that was a fun one. We were probably ranting about something going on at the time. But yeah, the Wow kind of sticks out for me for sure on that year.
Daniel.
Yeah, I see some of the top episodes are about 1979 and 1980. And since I'm a stats guy, I was always mesmerized at how good those kind of episodes did for us. You know, anything about Dynasty did numbers, you know, as a lot of good numbers for us. I recall one episode we did. I guess it must have been when it was some sort of anniversary for Dynasty, and I didn't think that much of it, and it went through the roof. You know, almost 10,000 listens if you combine YouTube and the audio sources. So that's what sticks out for me. You see, in sixth place you have 7980, and then you have the other one at number 4, Unmasked 1980. I never thought those years were so interesting and popular in the Kiss army, but they surprised me time and time again, because we did an episode on Dynasty, I guess, was it last year? 2024, and it was one of our top episodes still. So if you want to get a lot of listens, talk about Dynasty or Unmasked. They do good numbers.
Yeah, well, we're going to refocus this May on Unmasked, so
yeah,
you know, there'll be hopefully time for that. All right, let's move on. 2017. There we go. It's been mentioned today as well. The LA Expo and Peter Criss. That's rightfully that's substantially number one. I mean, I remember Ken provided video. Was it Priss, the tribute band?
Yeah,
joined them. You know, that was great. You know, that whole event for me. You know, obviously Tim was there, and it was great to be doing stuff with the book projects together. Moose was there. Ken Sharp was there. You know, it was a great event to celebrate. Bruce, obviously, as well. I remember him coming by the table, and we were in the room where they did the Hotter Than Hell photo shoot, I believe, or at the same facility where it was shot. So it was very cool. So that's my pick for the year. Mark?
Yeah, I have to agree. I think the LA Expo was a very exciting episode to do and talk about. Whenever these kind of situations where you get to meet people or meet members of the band, it's always a big thing to talk about. You know, I also remember the whole thing with the Kiss Rocks Reno review. I believe that was a show review, if I'm not mistaken. That one, I think.
That was when I was in front of the wall.
Yeah, that's
you had a bad view, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then this one was interesting too. Maybe it wasn't as high up on the list, but the Kiss opening acts from 75 to 80 was a good discussion, because the amount of bands that Kiss took out with them early on in their careers and ended up making names for themselves was fantastic. Like, you know, they had the Rush, you had Queensryche, you had Iron Maiden, you had all kinds of bands that they took out on some of their earliest tours, and that discussion was fantastic because it brought in another group as well as Kiss. So I always enjoy this kind of one. So some great episodes.
Yeah, so Daniel, your top pick for 2017, and write that down there in number 10. I don't know if you can see the title. It was, of course, Kiss Classified with Carl Linnaeus.
Well, that was a fun one, but my favorite has to be the Kiss Alive Forever ebook episode that you did with those guys. And Kurt Gooch was on that episode, and it's kind of fun to look back at that episode when he was at the height of his powers. You know, the fall from grace is so unbelievable to think of. You know, going from that episode to where he is now, where he's the most hated Kiss fan in the Kiss army, no question about it. It's mind-boggling. But I think it was a good episode, and Julian actually made me buy the ebook of Kiss Alive Forever, so I bought that one, and it was a great read, and I still have it on my phone now. So go and check out that episode before he went sour, Kurt Gooch. That's a great.
Check out that episode before he copyright claims it, for fuck's sake.
True that.
Lonnie, 2017 for you.
Yeah, I think the obvious choice is that LA Expo Peter Criss recap. I was very jealous of you and Ken getting to go to that and getting to meet Peter. I've only met Peter the one time, so you guys getting to do that, I was super jealous listening to you guys' review of that. So what's the cracking open the gene?
Must be the vault. Was that the vault?
Is that the
That's
vault?
the vault. Yeah.
Is it the vault? Those were fun. Those were fun hearing about the vault early on, and your guys' experience doing that too. Man, look at you guys.
Wasn't the vault in 18?
No, I think the vault was in 18. Yeah, I think you're right.
Was it?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look that one up and see what
Or
it is.
maybe, yeah, maybe that was later in the year, and we were finding out about the vault, and we were having a discussion before it came out.
Oh no,
what was it?
Yeah, that was an interview with Keith Valcourt.
No,
okay.
We must have been promoting the upcoming
The vault, the beginning or something.
Yeah. So, no, those are some different episodes there in 17, but the LA Expo definitely stands out for sure.
Yeah, and that was to promote what was going to be happening during the Vault experiences. So, none of us had heard anything, I think, other than "Are You Ready?" at that point, because that was being streamed, and of course, part of other stuff. Ken, did I get you?
No. Yeah, I mean, I agree with the LA Kiss Expo because I was there with Julian, so it's obviously a big experience, and we were able to clue in the audience on what happened and our experiences down there. Yeah, the vault thing was kind of funny though, which extended into, I guess, the beginning of 18 where that happened, and I was waiting for my shipped vault and all that. And I was sending them letters and stuff, emails, and then they finally made it worth my while and sent me the vault with the Gene Simmons boot shell on it, which turned out to be a very cool thing that happened. So, but yeah, the expo was a big thing for that year.
All right, 2018. Las Vegas Vault. I mean, that's skewed because that was, I think, just the video I shot of Paul Stanley with Gene on stage at that Vault event. That was super fun to go to, by the way. I got a photo pass to shoot Utopia. I think it was the night before. Can't remember. So until I got smacked in the head by the soundboard guy for blocking his view of the stage. But that was super cool. Bob Kulick was there, bumping into him. Was nice as well. Look at these numbers. I mean, this is kind of the heyday, and to a certain extent, there's so much going on. The Atlanta Expo is obviously one big thing. The cruise is another. There was so much happening, and that's what I kind of miss. I don't have any favorite from all of this. It was just that it was one thing after another. Bang, bang, bang. Always
Bang,
something
bang,
happening somewhere in the world. No, I'm doing the eye thing right now. Ken, picks for you. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it was since I wasn't there, the Las Vegas Vault thing, hearing about your experiences there, and I guess I kind of have the same views as you. There was a lot of stuff going on at the time. The new costumes, that was always good. I always liked to. It's like, why don't they redo their costumes more often? And that was a good one when they finally were doing that kind of stuff. I guess at Monster they did that, and it was kind of surprising. And then we criticized it, of course, but I always liked when they changed costumes and did these little different things with that stuff. So anyway.
It's funny that the episode for the cruise got less viewers that year than the pre-events that were going on in Miami at the time, which is hilarious looking back on it. Daniel?
Well, I think the convention thing is one thing that sticks out, since that's probably the future. If this thing is going to continue, we need to get the conventions going again in some form, at least. Getting the fans together, celebrating the band. So I think it's awesome that some of those episodes made it that high on the list. In addition, I would say I don't know if this was the time when Bruce and Bob played on the cruise. Was that in 18? Because that was a high point when they played together. I don't know if it was 18.
No, Ace was on the cruise in 18.
Okay. Okay, I'll wait with that one for next year then. Okay, but the conventions, fans getting together to celebrate the band, I think that's awesome, and it's great that it got a lot of views on the KissFAQ podcast.
Yeah, you did say something about expos have to come back. Have you seen the Danger cover from the Kiss Cancer Goodbye?
Hell yeah!
In December, absolutely
Mhm.
amazing. Lonnie,
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah.
I think the Atlanta Expo recap stands out for me just because Julian and I were there, and it was fun getting together afterwards. And I think Andy's on that episode too because Andy was in Atlanta that weekend with us, and Andy and I are ranting about how poorly run it was and how I had to spend 6 hours in line on Saturday, and a VIP ticket was absolutely meaningless, and it was, but the experience was great just to see everybody. But the experience seeing everyone was the highlight of that weekend. So it was that the Atlanta thing would definitely stands out for me.
Did you get your leg signed at that convention?
I did.
Show
So,
it to the camera.
I don't know if I could.
Pull a muscle.
right. I can do that right now.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I got my leg signed on Friday night, and then waited in line on Saturday to meet him again because I had some more things I wanted to get signed. Alex coming, I got something signed for him, and then I went and got the tattoo and came back, and it was a whole thing. But that was a lot of fun. Atlanta 2018, it's awesome.
Especially that dinner. And Nils was there, Ariane, Roger.
There were a
Bernard
lot of
with his
people there
books,
that weekend.
Magic, Eddie Trunk. There were so many people. And I got to MC or do the Q&A for Kurt and Jeff last night as well, which was very cool. No matter what the history of what's happened since, it was still very super fun. Daniel, 2018.
Well, I've already said my piece, so you can move on to 19.
Oh, sorry. Did I get everyone for 20?
Very forgettable.
No, not me.
Yeah, Mark.
I'm losing the plot 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
So
No problem.
for me, I think all of these were fantastic views. I mean, I like the new costume one. That was always good when you can talk about something new with Kiss. It's sometimes a rarity, as we know. Later on, they kind of stuck with the same thing for years and years. So whenever you can talk about something new, it's great. Of course, the Vinny postponements. This was probably early on when it was kind of shocking that he did that. But later on, as we come to realize it was not rare for him to start something and then cancel it. But this was the beginning, I think, of that sort of thing. That's why there were so many views, I think, that the shocking, news of Vinny canceling something. But all of these were very important in the development of the show too. I mean, talking about Miami and stuff like that. Those events that happened before the cruises, they were big events at the time. So great podcasts.
And Ken, did I get you?
Yes, you did.
Okay, then let's move on to 2019. Oh dear God!
All right,
there it is. I'll take that.
The candid
that episode
conversation
as my pick, and that is The End of the Road from Vancouver. It was so super fun to go up to Vancouver to see the kickoff of the tour, and then to run back to the hotel immediately afterwards and hop on a podcast recording. I wish I'd spent a bit more time up in Vancouver. The pre-events didn't quite happen how I hoped they would. I love a do-over on the start at the end of the road. Mark.
Yeah, I agree. That End of the Road episode was really good. I mean, I remember a lot of us were anticipating you returning from the show and talking about what had happened and what they played and the effects and stuff like that. Similarly, I think back to the episode of when you showed us your Gene Simmons vault there, the safe, when you opened it and showed it to us. That was always another big event as well. But all these sort of episodes, you can see the numbers are really high because it's, a big time for Kiss at this time, right? End of the Road, Sacramento, new stage rumors, already with the thing, maybe I think, what was that? Was it like the second or third run? Maybe they were going to change up some stuff already in there. So, all these kind of conversations were piquing our interest because they were still very active at this time. So these episodes went over well.
Some of these episode titles make no fucking sense whatsoever. Lonnie.
Yeah, the obvious choice is the Vancouver thing. That tour had such anticipation to it. With new stages, new outfits. What are they going to play? How are we gonna do Farewell Tour 2.0 basically? And getting Julian's instant reaction from show number one. It was a big time. Kiss was going strong at the time, and everybody was all excited and in on this last run that went on forever. But yeah, for sure, the Vancouver thing in 19 was great. I mean, you look at some of these other ones, like new stage rumors, like us talking about what are they going to do, what's it going to be like, and us just speculating after that tour was announced, and with great anticipation leading up to it. So it was definitely a fun time.
Ken?
Yeah, I agree. The Vancouver one is getting your experience. I think you were still in Vancouver, I think, when that was recorded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the Mike Lyson videotape, which is the next episode after that. I think people are already discovering that some smoothing pedal was being used, where Paul wasn't kind of at the mic and his vocals were coming out. It's like, oh, what? What's going on there? So that's where the discovery happened, and then everyone was looking every show was looking to find something on Paul or any other member that might have been potentially, lip syncing or whatever. So yeah, those are the big ones.
Yeah, Candid Conversation With is, of course, with Bob
Kulik.
So,
yeah.
Sacramento. I remember, obviously I was taping that show. I was taping that show, and I was doing the Tommy guitar purchase and having my recorder running while I'm fighting with security to get backstage to go and get the guitar afterwards. I still have that recording, and it's absolutely hilarious listening back to it. I can't ever, share it, but it makes me laugh.
That one had I have the recording, the video of where Gene had did his fire breathing, and then he went to throw his sword down, and he missed, and it bounced off and flying off to the side.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a little fire burning on the stage, but Paul had to come over and stamp out with his boot.
7-inch heels.
Yep, 7-inch heel.
Yep, Daniel, 2019.
Well, the numbers here, I guess they're the YouTube numbers, aren't they?
Only the YouTube for
that.
Yeah.
So some of these episodes probably were well over 10,000 views. That's kind of mind-boggling. But Mix Lies in the videotape. Someone said that it was a fun title. Well, it was a bad movie in the late 80s or early 90s, wasn't it? Sort of. What was the name of that movie?
Sex Lies and Videotape.
Yeah, that's the one. That was no good. But the episode that stands out to me is actually an episode that I didn't watch more than 15 minutes of. But I understood that it was a great episode, and I sure as hell was pumped for Kiss coming over to Europe. It was the end of the road, Vancouver. I didn't want to know everything. I still wanted to have some surprises and so on. So I watched. I vividly recall watching like 15 minutes, and then I had to turn it off because I didn't want to know all the new stuff that they brought, because this was the first time in years they did a whole new production and revamped the whole Kiss live experience. Yeah. But that episode, sure as hell, I might have to go back and rewatch that episode as a whole, because I never finished it because I didn't want to know a lot about the tour. And then I struggled through that year being a part of the episodes. I remember I didn't want to hear a whole lot of detail, so I had to put my fingers in my ears at times when we discussed. So but that's a real standout episode.
I was streaming live as well on YouTube during the show, and it was going to my Facebook feed. I was posting photos. I was pissing a lot of people off like you who didn't want the details. Inadvertently, of course. All right, 2020. All right, that reaction video of Kiss 2020 Goodbye,
Lord.
obviously number one, but it was a moment, and 283 still shows up in here for some reason. So something must have gone weird on that. And then, of course, it isn't that long after that Bob Kulick passed away, and it's just been his birthday last week. So, I can't think of a standout episode from this year for myself. Lonnie?
I guess the Dubai thing does stand out because I think, well, at least I was very critical of the band even doing Dubai when they announced it in the fall of 2020, because Paul would be on Twitter telling people to stay home, it saves lives, and don't be going doing things, blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden, oh, we're gonna go do this pay-per-view in Dubai, and they're gonna pay us. They didn't say this, but they're just obviously got paid a lot of money to do it. So what's good for you isn't necessarily good for me. And I went after Paul Stanley on Twitter, and it became a whole thing for a couple days afterwards too. So the Dubai thing stands out for me because I thought it was so. One, it was so hypocritical that they were even doing the show, and then everybody knows the aftermath of what happened. It was such the biggest flub. It was kind of like an instant karma thing. What happened with the whole Dubai thing? Hey, maybe we shouldn't have even done that in the first place.
Yeah, I remember Lonnie being hailed like Jesus Christ in the coming episode. You know, people agreeing with him. You held sort of a great speech there.
Yeah, I was not happy with their choice to do that.
Nope.
After
Yeah, they put more than a quarter in Lonnie that day. That's for sure. Hey, you know, and respect for you for, you know, calling it out.
Yeah.
Daniel.
Well, I have to go to episode 10 because I vividly recall discussing Metallic Kiss. That was a take on the heavy songs that Kiss have, you know, done through the years. And my number one didn't get as high as I wanted it to do. It was God of Thunder. I recall being so surprised that it just ended up in 4th or 5th place or something. But it was a fun take on Kiss's music, and I still remember that episode, and it was a great episode. So go back and watch that episode, you guys out there.
Which episode?
The Metallic Kiss. The Metallic
Kiss.
308. Okay. Mark.
Yeah, the Dubai one was always interesting. I don't know if Daniel remembers, but he was broadcasting live from his house when it was on. And I remember I was on as well, chatting with him back and forth via, I think it might have been Skype or something, or maybe Facebook or something. He was talking about it. He wasn't showing the screen. I don't know, a lot of people were saying, show the screen, Daniel, show the screen. And he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And he was just talking about it as it was happening. So it was interesting to hear his reactions live while he was doing it. So that's an interesting memory that I have of that as well. The Metallic Kiss was very good as well. And I also enjoyed the best bootleg boxes because I had a big hard on with that whole thing about how people were buying these box sets and they were just terrible audio, but there was fantastic stuff in it, like these posters and these booklets that they were making and all these fantastic things that people would love to have. But then you put the audio on and it sounds like a friggin' cement mixer playing instead of music, you know? So I didn't understand why people were dropping so much money. So it was a good conversation, that one.
All right. Ken.
Yeah, the Dubai thing. Of course, the aftermath. But that was kind of weird. I mean, it was kind of cool at the time watching it, but strange where they're playing in front of a pool. It's like there's no audience really. So it was really weird. And then the Guinness Book guy and all that. What was interesting is they did that off the cuff kind of. They played Strutter actually live.
Yeah.
No tape on that one.
Yeah.
So that was a real vocal from Paul on that one, which you could tell. But yeah, that was the big deal that year.
All right, let's move on. 2021. All right. It was all about Destroyer 45 that year, but one of the episodes that stands out for me is the Let Me Go Rock and Roll episode. And that was where we had multiple owners of the super staggeringly rare Let Me Go Rock and Roll single on at the same time. And if there was ever an episode where some of the rarest Kiss memorabilia was shown off, then that episode was it. And as a collector of 45s back in the day, that was a really cool one to be a part of. Lonnie.
The Destroyer thing was really cool because we finally got our super deluxe box set that we had been clamoring for since we started the podcast, and even before that, but Kiss fans have been wanting. So getting that first one was really fun, and talking about it with you guys and about what we liked and what we didn't like about it was a lot of fun. It was such a breakthrough that we finally got that. And also on here are those talking about the A&E biography that was in 2021. Those were fun too. Like I think we watched those, and I think we had like instant reaction like right after that. I think we did a show like right after it aired. Maybe I'm thinking of something else, but that was really fun. That this 2-part documentary that was really well done. And then to talk to you guys, just instant reaction off the cuff, what we thought about it. Those were really fun episodes as well.
Nice. Ken, how about you?
Yeah, the A&E, our live reaction, we call it live reaction, but it's just right after it, that A&E thing, where we talk about things that we liked about that and thought they missed on that, which they did miss a lot of stuff, I think, on that documentary. It still needs to be a definitive documentary. They still haven't done it. We've been able to pull that off. Hopefully someday there will be one. I don't know. And then, we have more of the Dubai. What else? The album MVP battle, that was interesting. Who's the kind of the MVP of each album was pretty good too, that sort of stuff. So, yep.
Daniel.
The one that stands out for me is Who Steers the Ship Through the Stormy Seas, episode 360. I recall that one because I think it was me, Ken, and Mark who did an episode on The Elder, and Mark was holding the reins during that episode, and it worked out real well. And what stood out for me was I didn't like The Elder, but Ken kind of loved The Elder, and was kind of fun to hear how we interpreted the songs differently. Yeah. He found so much great stuff in a song, and I found everything that was wrong in the song. And Mark was kind of in the middle trying to steer the ship, and he did that so well. So I look forward to the next episode when Mark is steering the ship through the stormy seas. It was a great episode. So if you're a The Elder fan, or if you hate The Elder, doesn't matter. You can go back and watch episode 360. It's well over 2,000 views now, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mark, 2021.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody was excited about the A&E review of the biography there. Yeah, of course there was stuff missing in it, but I know our dear friend Ken, who wants the definitive version of it, which would have to be like 8.5 hours long if you were to get every single thing in there. But nobody in their right mind would put that much money into a Kiss biopic like that. But maybe one day Ken will win the lottery in America. They had those huge $100 million lotteries, and you can fund one and make one. That'd be a perfect project for you.
Play it first.
Yeah. And then there's of course the episode that Daniel mentioned, the Who Steers the Ship episode. That was fun to do as well. And of course, the box set, the Destroyer one that came out, that was a big event. People finally wanted it, but for me, it holds sort of bitter memories, not because of the album itself, but because of the fact that I did order it and I never ended up getting it because DHL did a huge screw up. They sent it over, then they sent it to the wrong address. They put it back, and I never ended up getting it. I just completely lost all interest in the box sets after that. But yeah. Yeah, it was. I don't know what the hell happened, but DHL is a German company, so leave it at that.
So,
wait, we're not taking shots at the Germans.
Wow.
No, Rome Loves Dan did. That's a cool comment about a fan film edit of that A&E documentary. And if you think about the Beatles anthology, the bootleg anthology is like super duper expanded and very cool. So who knows? But there's no money in the 80s, sadly. 2022. I stayed out of so many of these fucking episodes.
Sam Loomis.
I don't want to deal with this shit. I don't want anything to do with these topics. You guys want to talk about it, you go do them. Which I think was a mistake on my part. It just felt, I didn't have any of that stuff before it leaked video wise. But I just didn't want to be a part of those because it was just like it was ugly, though obviously everyone was super excited. I mean, the Rockologist episode as well was, one which I eventually had to take down, once the guy behind it started insulting Peter in public. But those Sam Loomis episodes, I got to watch them and enjoy them as a consumer of a podcast because you guys were just able to go off and talk about them from your perspective, and you didn't know any of the fucking dirt about the background. So you were just celebrating them for what they were as a fan, which I totally couldn't be connected from. So, all of those are episodes that I enjoyed. Daniel.
Yeah, you have to pick that number one, Sam Loomis for president, because I guess that was the sentiment among the KissFAQ panelists. We got a lot of stuff in a very short amount of time, so it was even hard to get a grasp on everything that was leaking. But it was a cool time to be a Kiss fan, and some of the stuff that leaked was like awesome. I remember watching half a concert from the Revenge era. I don't know where it was from, but it was mint condition. Yeah, mint condition.
It was only half the show, though.
And a friend sent me the complete Tokyo 1995 concert. That was one of my favorite concerts from back in the day, in mint condition. So there was a lot of stuff going on. I remember Mark getting all riled up about stuff from the 70s. I think it was Detroit or something, and he talked about that being such a high for him to watch those things. So we were happy. We were a happy bunch of guys during those days when Loomis leaked a lot of things. And I also recall the audience went wild. The listeners were very active and a big part of the show. So they had a lot of interesting comments. So Sam Loomis for president is the episode that stands out for me.
Yeah.
Lonnie.
Yeah, the Loomis stuff was a lot of fun. It was, it seemed like every day for a little while we got something, and it was great. And the four of us just being fanboys of it, we're just eating it up, and Julia's just like, I want nothing to do with this. This is was actually kind of funny at the same time.
Yeah.
And the Creatures box set review is on there, which, again, we got our deluxe box set for the second year in a row. We thought, oh, this is great. This is just going to continue and get better. And that was the last one we got. So we'll see what 2025 brings. Hopefully, I'm going to sound like Ken here, but hopefully something's going to be coming down the pike for deluxe box sets, but we'll see. No, I think the Loomis stuff definitely stands out. I mean, the top two on here are that Loomis stuff that was coming out. That was a fun time when those were hitting big.
Mark.
Yeah, I have to agree. That was definitely a fun time, and those podcasts were definitely fun. It was too bad that you didn't participate in them, Julian. It would have been fun to have your input in them, but I did make notes about that one too. That was one of my favorite picks episode that I put down here. And not only was it a very fun episode from the vibes that we had talking back and forth about it, but we had some playful digs at each other and the usual sort of things. But we also did a quick comment about the 77 Des Moines soundboard that had come out then as well. So I remember we talked about that as well during that episode. So it was sort of all action-packed, like sensory overload episodes. We had that to talk about. Then all the leaks that happened as well. So it was a great episode. I think those two, the Kiss Brings a Leak one, I think that had something to do with it as well. But the Sam Loomis one for sure is great. That episode definitely, reinvigorated my interest in the video end of things for sure.
I'm surprised none of you have picked the Ant Guitar Wank on a Tank. Daniel. or Ken. Sorry to me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Sam Loomis thing was exciting. It was funny. Those videos would be going up there, and they were out there for a while, and then all of a sudden they were getting struck down by you know who. And there's like, oh, I missed it. It's already gone. And we do wait for it to go up, and then some other YouTube poster had it, and they would put it up, and it would get struck down. And I was out there trying to, like download one before, full concert before it was gone. And I remember actually yesterday, which is funny, is I played. I was looking at a couple of the concert videos for that were leaked at the time. I was watching them on DVDs that I had copied them to. So those were it was a big deal at the time. We were like amazed that this footage was out there, that it really did exist, and there's I'm sure a lot more that we still haven't seen, even though there's a lot that has been leaked or had gotten out there.
Kudos to Julian for the title of episode 413. That has to be the best title yet.
Yeah, I think I stole that from
Ant Guitar Wank on a Tank, because that's what it was.
That was a good one.
All right. I think 2022, though, was the last great year for Kiss as an active band, sadly. All right, here we go. 2023. Animals, Live, Lies, and Audio Tape. A lot of these I just don't really remember now. So they kind of become a blur. Lonnie?
I think the obvious choice, though, is we went live with our instant reaction after the last show. That was obviously the highlight of the year. I mean, and then we were on, I think the four of us were on, and then Julian came on from this hotel room shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
And we got his reaction to what we saw, and the shock of the promotion of the avatars at the end, and our letdown that I remember leading up to it, and probably earlier in the year in 2023, and I said, what if the last show is just like every other show on the end of the road tour? And we all kind of laughed, like, oh yeah, like that's gonna happen. And it turns out that's exactly what happened. So, except for the avatars at the end, which that's a whole other discussion. We can talk about that as we go in 2025 and leading up to their debut in 27. But that definitely stands out. I mean, I guess. I guess we talked about Psycho Circus, an anniversary of Psycho Circus at one point in the year, and we talked about animals, lives, and lies. I don't know what the hell we were doing there, but that's definitely the choice. That's the last show.
Yeah, wasn't that the comparing Bruce's solos with Mark's from the Poughkeepsie?
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah.
I think
Could it have been the box or the soundboard? Maybe came out. I don't know.
Yeah, Poughkeepsie certainly came out.
It was a fun episode.
Daniel, your pick for 2023.
Well, the obvious choice is, of course, the number one pick there and the number one episode. But I'm just seeing Ken now. What happened?
Hi, Ken.
Hi, Ken. You're
Switch back.
I like Ken, but I like episode a vinyl FAQ off as well. Episode 459. Just because I remember it, I think it was me, Lonnie, and Ken just picking old vinyls, Kiss vinyls, and talking about them, vinyls we owned. And sometimes it can be fun to just, an easygoing episode where you go through your old records. And I remember that being a fun episode for myself, at least. And obviously, others enjoyed it as well because it passed 2,000 views on YouTube. So that was a fun episode. And but you have to mention the number one episode. I remember staying up late for the show, doing live commentary on another channel, and then going into our show and being sort of, what do you say when you're fried? I was
Exhausted.
totally exhausted and fried. So
Yes.
I the one thing I remember from that episode is at times I didn't know if I was speaking English or if I was speaking Swedish or if I was doing something in between. So I don't want to go back and watch that episode. I must have been terrible, but it was fun nonetheless.
Yeah, I don't want to relive it either. Ken?
Yeah, I don't know. I do the vinyl one was, I'm sure it was enjoyable for me because always like talking vinyl, and I obviously have a lot of Kiss vinyl, so that was a fun one. Obviously, the other No End in Sight was probably where they were going to continue their tour. Onward
I think
after.
that's us. I think that's No End in Sight for us, episode 500.
Is it us? Was it us?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's us.
Maybe there is no. I don't know. Yeah, and some of these, I don't know some of these descriptions.
Ultimatums from a Silly Safe. Remember Ace's?
Yeah, that's fun.
Oh, that one. That was a good one. Yeah.
Insulting Gene's vault as a Silly Safe.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That was a fun one too. So yeah.
No End in Sight was episode 500. When we did that one, 500 episodes.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Lose track. All right, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the reaction there. Excuse me. That one is always was a good one. The No End in Sight was good. I think the We Go Psycho was sort of a Psycho Circus focus one. And that album always has its lovers and its haters, so that was an interesting one to do as well. I don't much remember the Kiss Gave Covers to You episode, but look, everything from during this time we had a reason to talk about, whether it was something that came out or a single came out or some sort of release from somebody else that did covers of Kiss songs maybe. There was always stuff to talk about, and that's the great thing about doing Kiss podcasts.
Yeah, and if the titles don't make any sense, there's only one person to blame. That's me, because sometimes I'm just like, what the fuck do I call these things? All right, 2024, the most recent year. Obviously, Refocused is a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm gonna pick one, it's gonna be 10,000 Volts. Just because it's new music, and that's what I still care about, whether it's new archival music or new music. So it was very cool last year to have an episode where we could talk about one of these guys actually releasing some music. Daniel.
I like the Kiss versus episodes. It was an idea I stole from the KissFAQ board, I think. And it worked out beautifully. We picked bands that recorded albums at the same time as Kiss. So, for example, you could pick 1976, and it was Destroyer against other big bands that released albums the same year. And I enjoyed those episodes because it made me listen to some music that I hadn't listened to a lot, because I remember we did some episodes where Kiss versus later years, and it was late Aerosmith albums and stuff like that. So it metamorphed into that kind of topics. But Kiss versus 70s was a great topic, and it made you listen to a lot of records. Unfortunately, Mark provided some really weird stuff that I couldn't really, appreciate at the same level as Mark. But it was interesting nonetheless. So I liked those because it made me listen to music I hadn't listened to in a long time, or that I had never listened to. So I like those episodes. I hope we can bring them back.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have become an Alan Holdsworth fan without Mark. Mark.
Yeah, this was a pretty strong year, I think, for these kind of episodes. I've always loved the Refocused ones because they, you get to go back and see what you think of these records, 5 years on, or whatever, however long it was since we'd last talked about them. So I was not surprised to see that the Dynasty one was at the very top. Animalize did really well as well, and I agree. The 10,000 volts review was fun to do because it was new music, and there was a little bit of a sort of a drama around it as well that made it a little bit more interesting to talk about as well, about whether and how much Ace actually did on the record, etc., etc. But that was a fun discussion as well. The 2024 predictions I thought was interesting. It might be good to look back at this one, in a couple of years' time to see if we were right with anything. And again, the refocused on Hotter Than Hell, the refocus on the debut album was very strong as well. So I think that these were all great episodes. And if you're new to the podcast, maybe even start with some of these ones.
Yep, Lonnie.
Yeah, the refocus were a lot of fun to go back and review these albums together, and we've talked about each one of these albums in 500 plus episodes, but to go back and kind of do it a little more in depth is a lot of fun with the ranking system that we use. But I think the 10,000 volts review was probably my favorite one because we actually got to talk about new music, which is always fun, and that's something somebody brought up something in the chat a little bit ago that we've been doing this for 10 years and we didn't get a new Kiss album in those 10 years, and because obviously we haven't got one. So, but we've talked about several Ace albums over the year, new Ace albums in those years. So it was fun to do that, just to hear some brand new music and to get your guys' take on it versus mine, and how our different tastes in that kind of, how we have different tastes on different songs that we're hearing for the first time. So that to me was my favorite. It was kind of I got to make sure I make that episode because I really want to make sure I talk it over with the guys about actual new Kiss related music.
Ken, you get the final word on 2024.
Yeah, the refocus thing, that's kind of been the best for me, at least. I enjoy going back and digging into those again and seeing how things pan out and how these refocused episodes are going to be used to, rate the overall albums against each other, how which one's kind of does better than the other one. So we're going through it. We're starting to see which albums are more popular for us or we like better than the other ones. It's kind of what we thought it would be, I think, so far. And we have some more coming up this year, so I look forward to those.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm looking forward to the most in in this year will be the refocus that we get to do. Let's wrap this show up because we're well over my bladder's capability to sit and podcast. It's like a lipstick panel right now, into the second hour, into the second hour. For 10 years, we've done this show, and I'm looking forward to the episodes that we're going to do this year. I already know what the next 2 episodes that I'm going to put on the schedule are. You guys don't. You guys are going to find out shortly when you see what the next possible episode will be. But, nice. As we conclude this episode, I think I'm going to save my words until last. So, Lonnie, close us out with your closing for this episode.
These last 10 years have been a lot of fun doing the show and getting to know you guys, and just getting the ability to chat with friends about Kiss every week, and to have a different thought and just to hear different perspectives, and we're all from different parts. A lot of us are from different parts of the world and different age groups, and to hear different perspectives is definitely a lot of fun every week. And the fact, again, I mentioned it earlier, the fact that so many people listen to the show is great. And we appreciate each and every one of you that listen to us and take the time out of your busy day to hear us pontificate about our favorite band. So thank you to everyone for listening for the last 10 years. And, we hope we can keep on doing it for years to come.
Mark, you're up.
Yeah, I have to echo what Lonnie just said. I think that, it's been great doing this podcast. It's always been fun to do it. I mean, I think we all went through several bits of memories that we had about this show, and the great thing is that there's more to come. I'm excited to hear that that Julian, already has some stuff prepared for us coming up, so that's a good sign. And there's more good stuff to come. So hang in there with us, and I'm sure we're going to have a great year this year, 2025, and see what happens.
Daniel.
Yeah, rumors says that there's a lot of things going on for 2025, because I think this last year was, nothing happened in the KISS world. So I'm looking forward to this year and seeing what will happen in the KISS camp. But I have to give big thanks to you guys, Ken, Lonnie, Mark, Julian. You've been a part of my life for 10 years now, and the problem is I've probably spoken more to you than some of my dearest friends during this decade. I mean, hours and hours of discussions. Nothing wrong with that, but it boggles the mind when you think of it. So I've really appreciated this decade of discussing KISS, because it was something that was lacking in my life the previous decade. So I'm happy I found you guys, and you've done a lot for me. And also, secondly, I have to thank all the listeners that have kept in touch and reached out, and some of them have become friends as well. So it's all great to be a part of this KISS world that still is alive and kicking. And let's hope we can keep this up for a few more years.
Mark, did I get you?
Yeah.
Okay. Which means, Ken.
Well, yeah. Thanks.
There's something called a notepad, Julian. You haven't heard about that?
Have a notepad. It doesn't mean it works.
Yeah, I agree with everyone. All the previous guys' comments. Yeah, thanks for the listeners and or watchers or whatever. We appreciate you guys joining us here on everything, and I look forward to more in the coming year or years. And please, give us ideas of things you want to talk about. Please, put comments in either on YouTube or any of the other streaming things, or on the board itself, on what you'd like us to, talk about. Some things I'm sure we haven't thought about talking about with KISS, but it would be surprising. But I know it every now and then. It's like, oh yeah, we never even ever discussed this or that. But yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate the other guys here for being my friends here all these years and getting to know them. Even though from a lot of them from a distance, someday we'll meet, I'm sure, and I look forward to that day when that happens.
First and foremost, thank you to everyone who's listened to a KISS FAQ podcast episode and lending us your ears for an hour or so, week in and week out. Without you, we wouldn't be getting together week in and week out. Thank you to everyone who comments on the episodes, especially these live ones now, where having the input of folk while we're actually talking is a super fun part of the exercise. I want to thank you guys. Everyone who's participated on this show has made a sacrifice to give time to come on, a live stream or record an episode, and then sometimes prepare for an episode, or to deal with my lack of preparation for an episode. You guys are super fun to hang out with on a week in, week out basis, and the chats that we have going on the side are also a very fun part of it. But I also want to give a big shout out to the members on the KISS FAQ message board, the large silent mass who have given us so many topics to talk about, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to come up with ideas on a weekly basis to do a show. It does come down to the people who do episodes, and that also includes other podcasts who often come up with topics that I then decide, well, I want to do it and do from a different angle. So, it's a big, huge thank you to the whole KISS community for being part of our lives, and I hope we continue to be so in 2025. Let's hope that this year leads us all into a shit ton more episodes. And if not, go listen to another podcast and listen to their angle and view on stuff as well, because there's a lot of people out there making the same sort of commitment who maybe haven't done 10 years of time yet, so they're not getting out with good behavior, and clearly neither are we for now. So that's it. From me, from Ken, from Daniel, Mark, and Lonnie, thank you for joining us, and we shall see you next time. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final, there are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.